This is now the full video on how I made this so elegant and pretty vintage coquette cake. I will be showing to you in this video how I stack the cakes and add fillings, how we put dowel support, how I do frosting, and achieve a super smooth cake finish, and most importantly the piping tips I used. So just go along with me in this video as I decorate this beautiful cake. And I now consider this as my favorite vintage cake I've ever made so far. So stay connected. Also, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and follow our page. Thank you so much and have a great time watching this video. In this part, I am now stacking the cakes by adding fillings. I just use here a whipped icing added with cocoa powder as my chocolate filling, and slightly press it to properly stick to one another. Make sure your filling is chilled and is already set before you use it. I will be stacking 5 layers of 8 inches chocolate moist cake with chocolate icing filling in between. And then do a crumb coating before frosting the cake. And make sure all the holes in between are covered with icing. And after I do the crumb coating, my husband can now add dowels as support of the cake. And we are using here a clean barbecue stick. We added 6 dowels at the bottom tier, and we will make sure that the dowels reaches the bottom of the cake board. And then, I now added the small size 6 inches cake board as base support for the top tier, and a melted chocolate on top to stick the cake into it. So this is it. I now stack the top tier cakes. I just do the same procedure as the bottom tier. I think I am using here 6 layers of 6 inches chocolate moist cake with fillings in between. And then still do the crumb coating and again making sure to cover the holes. And for the final dowel support of our second tier cake, we are using at least 5 dowels as support to our cake. This will make sure it will not easily get damaged during transport or delivery of this cake to our client. And then after that, I can now start frosting the cake. I am still using here my favorite whipped icing. And the secret to achieve a smooth whipped cream icing is to let it chill for at least 3 hours before use. It took me more than 15 minutes to achieve a smooth cake finish as my desired outcome. And this is it. I am almost done achieving my desired smoothness of the cake. And cleaning the bottom part of the cake and cake board makes the cake so neat and clean. And after that, I immediately prepare mixing the desired icing color. The client's request is to have a pink cake, whether it is a floral cake or a vintage style cake. And so, I decided to make a vintage cake and research some lovely cakes in Pinterest as my inspo. Combining some of its lovely details makes my cake so unique and achieving elegant beauty with the details I added. Here I that piping tip as shown in the screen. I also use the same piping tip at the side of the cake, at bottom tier and top tier side of the cake. And then I create some curve line details at the side of the cake using only a piping bag with very little hole at the end of it. And then I added some small dots at the bottom of the curve lines and makes it more prettier. The same also at the bottom tier of the cake. I added another curved lines, but much longer than the top tier. And then I draw a small ribbon shape connecting it. Just make sure to draw it uniformly and make it neat looking in a more professional look. And then another 3 dots was added at the bottom tier. I just continue adding more details using the piping tip as shown in the screen. And then a 6V piping tip is used at the bottom. Make sure to use a stiff icing to achieve the sharpness and details of the piping tip used. 6B piping tip is still used in this area. And I am not still done, adding more and more details, and the cake now looks so pretty. In this part, I am using the first piping tip we apply in this cake. You can replace it as desired if you like to use different piping tip. The same also at the top, overlapping the first design, and then a wave piping design at the middle using the piping tip as shown in the screen. And for a small flower effect, I use that piping tip. If you have small flowers like baby's breath dried flowers, you can add it. Since I don't have one, I just created some small flowers as shown in the video. And for the pink and white daisy flower with pearl at the center, I use that piping tip to create individual petals. Just be careful as not to damage the cake. And adding some pearls into it makes it so beautiful and elegant. And then I also put some light green leaves to give emphasis on that small flower. Look how pretty it becomes. Also, I find it some lacking design on the bottom part of the top tier cake. And so I just piped the same small flowers around it. And again, I added this detail using that piping tip. And then, adding a large and small pearls makes it prettier, at the side and at the top of the cake. And finally, attaching this ribbon makes it so perfect. It now looks so pretty and so elegant. I attach 4 ribbons each at the top and bottom of the cake. And this is it, so pretty indeed. Thanks for watching until the end of the video. Follow and like our page for more videos. Thank you so much.